This is Midgardsblot 2022, and this is Rauta channel, and we have some Norwegian black metal thing going here. Excuse me, sir. You're sitting in my table, you're smiling, and we're supposed to have this grim black metal interview, and you're kind of ruining the moment. Now, could you state your name and title and explain why are you here?
My name is Ørjan Norvik, but in the scene, my name is Vegander. I play in Helheim, and I'm here because they booked us. Finally.
So you are doing, I guess, black metal meeting exactly what?
Good question. I think it's up to other people to decide what we are than ourselves. We lost track of the generalization of generalization or genreification.
Genreification, that is a good word for it.
I think maybe that's a better word to use. Mm-hmm. But of course, I think we're being called Viking metal, Viking black metal because of the Norse lyrics. But if you take away the themes of the lyrics, the music wouldn't be anything like, I don't know, Viking metal. I don't even know what that is.
Well, considering that your band is Helheim, which is of course from Viking mythology, and you start with Jormungandr, which is of course from Viking mythology.
Yeah.
So we could safely say Viking black metal is a thing, but musically you have progressed quite a bit from those raw ends of the great debut album.
Yeah.
And it has changed you throughout the years, yet on stage you perform both new and the old stuff, which is of course great. And I noticed on stage you're using nice combination of two different vocals. How do you keep it going after almost, or more like 30 years?
30 years this year, actually.
Yeah, actually, yeah, 1992. Yeah. How it started?
It started off as me and the guitarist and vocalist being friends in preschool. So we've known each other since I was 5 years old and he was 6. So we go back a long time. And we started a band. I couldn't play the bass at all. And then he bought the guitar before me. So I was like, okay, I have to choose bass then, because I didn't want to play drums.
You lost the competition.
In a way, but I'm very happy that I did. I love playing bass. So he bought the guitar and we just started out, and I bought the bass, and then we had a tryout like for drummers, and there was only one guy coming, and he's still in the band.
What is your secret sauce keeping band together so long? Before you answer, I mean, there are of course bands like Saturicon and Dogthrone which have been pretty much able to do that.
Yeah.
But a lot of Norwegian bands, as bands from many other countries, you know, lineups changes and people chemistries change over time. But what is your secret sauce?
I think it's because we don't consider the music as the thing that keeps us together. We are friends on a personal level. I consider them my deepest friends. I have, of course, a lot of friends, but they are way more than just playing in Helheim, you know. So we meet not often because they have obligations with kids and we have our jobs and stuff like that, but we are more than just meeting in a rehearsal place. And throughout the years, there's been a lot of different occasions where we have these difficulties, of course, which is natural. But these days, no. It's like we matured so much, and we kind of listen to each other in a different way than when we were younger, when you're more, how to say it, like a teenager, and you want to fight for your rights in a different way. So now we are more like, okay, we can talk about stuff and we can go through the ideas instead of, no, my idea is the best. So I think the extreme friendship we have is what keeps us together. And we talk about it, you know, but then again we say to each other, well, it's not that special because we have shitloads of bands that has the exact same situation. But we also talk about the friendship and what we're gonna do with the band, and we together we change as a band, not individually. Like, okay, you are this and you are that, and we want to be on the same level, and we are. So I think we're more harmonic now than 20 years ago. Wait, for sure.
Now, some people say band is like another family, and some people say it's a relationship with more than just one person. Which are you?
Both, maybe.
Do you mean like incest now?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good topic. We move on. Now, one thing has puzzled me throughout the years is that since you started, and of course the music kind of a change over the years, you've used capital letters both in the beginning of the album names, but also the last one. That has been kind of a Helheim tradition for a few years now.
Yes.
What's the story behind this interesting thing?
It's not based on the Norse language. It's based on the pre-Nordic language, which is a language that was situated in Northern Europe. And the R that you see in the end is actually not an R. It's a phoneme, it's a sound.
Okay.
So, languages are based on sound, and a letter is also a name, but also a sound. And the sound that the language scientist has figured out is that sound in the end, it doesn't exist. So, to kind of take it into a way to, instead of having it in runes so other people can read it, they figured out that the R is a representation of the sound that is somewhere between the Z and an R.
Okay.
And I've tried to verbalize it, but it's almost impossible. Of course, I might be wrong, or the ones who figured this out might be wrong, but it is, of course, a rune, but that rune didn't have a sound. That sound is dead. It doesn't even exist after 500, year 500, then it died out because the language got changed. So it's not a letter per se. It's more a representation of the sound that it is. Yeah.
Now, do you feel frustrated answering and explaining all of this?
No.
And again and again?
No, I've chosen it, so for me it's okay.
Okay, what keeps you motivated with going with the Viking themes and pre-Viking themes and old, Nordic themes in the first place?
I found out let's say in around 2011 that I didn't want to talk about mythology in itself because I was kind of finished with that. So I wanted to explore the runes more and also the language and also delve deeper into that. So for me, it's for every lyric that I write, it's also something that I've kind of not studied because I don't do it in school, but privately. So I read a lot of, not a lot, but some books considering language around the topic. And when considering the language, you are, of course, obliged to read about the runes because the runes are the language, but the runes have many different outlets. So it's magical one is a sound, and it's also a letter that binds words together. So I find that very interesting. And while doing that, I get a lot of inspiration from the findings that I have, and I try to do it as respectful as I can to recreate something that I think might have been actual.
Now, considering Norwegian scene is mostly known for its black metal, obviously there are bands beyond that, but they're not making waves, they're not that interesting in general. And even Norwegian scene could be divided into basically two different directions. Those of traditional black metal going into anti-Christianity and satanic topics, and also, but you, among a few other bands, have decided to go more into this paganic and Viking heathen themes. How do you separate that, or is it just one big family in different topics, or how do you see Norwegian scene as whole these days?
I have no idea actually.
Do you keep any track at all what's going on? Because I mean, a lot of people in the Norwegian scenes are like roughly you and me, or the video dude here, the same age. We're all born in the 70s and things are like the same, but different paths have been chosen.
I think that how I see it is there's not that much recruiting in Norway. So the scene is getting older. Like the bands that have been around since the 90s, they are still going on. A lot of them are still going on, and they are just getting older, and which is fine, you know. But we
can really fight that.
Yeah, you know. But in Norway, especially in Bergen, I think the scene is unfortunately it's not cool enough to listen to metal anymore. So I don't think that there's hardly any kids in Bergen who is recruited to the scene. Remember when I was a kid, and of course it wasn't a big scene, but something happened, you know. And these day and age, it seems like it's uncool to I call it to be a little bit nerdy to listen to metal, because metal is a lot of nerds, you know. I'm pretty much a nerd, I guess, because I write about stuff that you have to like really read about. It's not just write some stupid shit, you know.
Now, that actually stole my next question, but I can ask it nonetheless. This is actually a topic which we had during this festival already with some friends of mine. That doesn't really matter where you go, in which country you go. Black metal people are kind of a bunch of nerds. Doesn't matter where you go. You have bands like Gorgoroth Version taking names out of Tolkien. You have bands like Immortal taking riff from Star Wars. You have that kind of a Viking nerdism. I come from both camps, and once upon a time, for example, I thought I was unique and kind of a weird kid because I liked extreme metal and role-playing games and fantasy literature, only to find about that like everybody in Finland and Norway and Sweden, and they're all the same. Doesn't matter even if you go to Austria or whatever. They're a bunch of nerds listening to metal and finding about these books. Do you think this geekiness or nerdiness is something that actually binds us together more than having love for metal and beer, or are they all equally important?
I think, of course, there's different variations of nerdism. But
now we are talking about important topics.
Yeah, but I think it's I mean, like when back in the 90s when I was like around 18, 19, 20, 21, I was serious, you know, like this is the shit, and nerds can fuck off. But I didn't realize that
you were one of them.
I'm actually one of them, you know.
Yeah.
Because we are a bunch of people who really dive into something that is not normal, like or common. But I think like a lot of things that I write about is actually getting older, like getting more in touch with reality. Who you are and what's around you and what history is all about. So these day and age, I'm not afraid to say that in many ways, yes, I am a fucking geek, but in other ways I'm not. You know what I mean? It's to be completely stalemate is boring. To be a little bit on the side and find your own topics in life and really try to figure out why it is like that. If that's a nerd, yes, then I'm a big nerd and I'm proud of it.
One could even make the statement that these old, for example, Viking mythologic things, as well as Greek ones, they have their roots in philosophy and as such are very much kind of nerdic things, but also the roots of wisdom. And these are all kind of getting together. So while we're doing music, we're also digging the very roots of like who we are, representations of stereotypes and all. But how vital you think digging up these wisdom elements, for the lack of better words, how important they are in order to make metal worthwhile versus just being guys having good time and making riffs?
Well, I think for me personally, when I because I do the lyrics and stuff, so I can't speak for the other guys, but when I do it on a personal level, of course. I'm doing what I find interesting, you know, and there and then I feel a lot of that I'm completely alone, like, you know, I have shades on and I'm doing it for myself, but then you write it down and you present it to the world or whatever, you know. But for me, it's important to do it first and foremost for myself and the band. And if somebody understands it, I'm extremely grateful. I don't expect it, but I'm very when people approach me, it doesn't happen often, and they say that they want me to try to explain the lyrics or they find some inspiration. It's for me, it's I get humble. I feel that okay, it's pretty cool that I actually, if it's only one, it means the world to me. So as a band, we first and foremost you think as an individual, but Helheim is also a collective, which can be seen as an individual because there's one name, and the music it's one thing, and the lyrics is one thing. I don't know if I answered your question.
I think you did.
Okay.
No, one thing which I wanted to always find out, because I was so fascinated when I heard Jormungand back in the 90s. Can't exactly remember the correct date, or year, but I was so fascinated. These creamy vocals are way beyond your typical black metal raspiness, and it's one of your trademark things which I still hold very dear to me. I recently did, for example, a classic review of your first album because I think it's so unique in style. What made you go into this direction rather than let's just go for these typical Bathory vocals and let's get it on with it, and you just go like, hey, no, we do something different?
I wish I could give you a 100% straight answer on it, but the thing is that history changed itself. So I can only answer considering what I remember. But my recollection will completely not be 100% right. But after the demo, I thought that, well, I want to do something that is where I just completely scream my fucking lungs out. And this is what happened. And it was like a total shock to me. So I was like, okay, I'll just keep it.
But you've changed over the years. How much was it intentional and how much was it just like, okay, we've changed, it happens, like a river is not the same?
Well, actually, it's already on the second album we changed a little bit the musical direction, and we didn't feel that the vocals fitted that well. But that's not the only truth, I think. If my recollection is right, I wasn't able to do it in the same manner. So I got a little bit disappointed by myself. So I just said to myself, well, if it can't be fitting the music as good as it did on Jormungand, then I'd rather change it. And throughout the years, now I'm hardly able to do it anymore. I did it here the other day in a rehearsal place, and I almost started fainting. It was the hardest thing ever. So today, I was thinking about trying to recreate it, but the sun, I'm not blaming the sun, but it was so fucking hot, and I felt just doing the vocals that I did there, trying to recreate Jormungand on the song Jormungand. I think I would have fainted because that requires shitloads. I have to do something special with my voice, and I found it here the other day after, since '95. So, or '97, we did a few tours and stuff, but I see it as a small coincidence that it happened the way it did. I think it, as I said, if my recollection is right, just me trying to be as extreme as possible with my voice.
Now, considering that you have changed somewhat, not too much, but still, nonetheless, progressed, do you see yourself having a direction where you're going in a few years? Do you think you have this Helheim evolution leading you to a certain direction which you can already like visualize?
No.
Or is it just something that happens naturally?
Naturally. Yeah, that's something that in 2000 and we've always been like that, but I think we've been a band that have derailed a lot. And there's a lot of albums that we look back in and saying like, well, what happened here, you know? So, but we always been very adamant saying that we want to progress as a band, and we can't do Jormungand 5 times. That's completely uninteresting. So we wanted to progress, but in 2010 we kind of set ourselves in a, having that as a thought, we said to ourselves, well, you know what, fuck everything. We just play whatever we want and see what happens. And I think after that we have this weight from our shoulders where we are like, okay, next album will be like this. because we start rehearsing and creating songs, and then next one is out, and then we sit and think, oh, well, this is what happened. Okay, cool, you know. So we did Ringnir as something that we wanted it to be almost just clean vocals, because we wanted to try it out. But right afterwards it was like, we ain't gonna do that again, because we've done it. So we are just exploring ourselves as musicians, and we are fortunate to actually present it to people. So yeah, I think we don't know what to expect from ourselves. We do whatever we do and see what happens. But of course, it will always be metal, I think. Yeah.
Now we're running out of time in a way, and I hope to continue this conversation at a later date where we will bring to the next level somewhere in the distant future.
Yep.
But to give a little bit of a conclusion to this everything, if a person should like figure out, this is kind of a stupid recurring question I keep going on, but if they're gonna pick up the latest Helheim, you're gonna pick the latest Helheim album to start with listening, assuming we have some new possible fans on the other side of the camera, which one should they go with, excluding the latest one?
I think Landavarja.
Why?
Because that was a transition in many ways, because we almost forgot about the album. We recorded quite at the same time as Rauta. We recorded 2 albums in once. Nobody knows this, so this is the first time I actually say this. But we recorded 2 albums at the same time, and Rauta was the first one to be released, and then Lana was just laying there. And when we picked it up, it was like, oh, fuck, what is this? We've done this, yeah, okay, we have to think about the sound and stuff. And then it came out, and we were really flabbergasted by the response that we got from it. And I think some of the, like for example, Baklengs mot Intet is personally one of my favorite songs. And it's a song that has, yeah, sticks out, and get a lot of good feedback from people saying that album kind of reinvented us in many ways. So I also listen to what people say to me, because first and foremost you create music for yourself, but I have also the decency and respect to listen to what people tell me. So I think I will go for what the audience will say. Landavarja.
This is a very good way to conclude the thing. Now if you're a new fan, go check out that stuff. And of course my favorite one, the first one. But this is a band you need to see live, which I'm happy to have had today. And we're gonna pick some brains later on. When, where, we don't know. But you on the other side, keep checking them live and on albums. And don't be a douchebag, stay honest, stay true, stay metal.
Stay pagan.
All right, thank you so much.